Archbishop Listecki said yesterday that he thought schools choice should go statewide. Are you going to expand statewide?
We're going to look at options on that. I mean, I think you remember more than 2 decades ago, the original program started in Milwaukee, really because the feeling at the time was, and I joined in that feeling, that higher income families had an option to, if their son or daughter was in line to go to a failing school, they had an option to take the money they earned and send them to a school that provided a better alternative, a better choice. But low-income families did not have that choice. And so that's where the program started. It's where it not only was Tommy Thompson, but Representative Polly Williams, who I served with, a Democrat, and others. And it's, over the years, it's gained bipartisan support because I think people felt there should be that kind of choice. We've expanded to Racine, and if we looked expanding it elsewhere in the state, I think it's really going to be driven by that same concept to say, we want to, first and foremost, we want to improve traditional public neighborhood schools, but in cases where there isn't improvement, we want to give those families the opportunity to provide an alternative so they have an option, they have a choice to seek out, wherever it might be, a school that's going to fail for their son or excuse me, that's not going to fail, that's going to succeed for their son or daughter.
What do you say to the opponents of school choice?
What do I say? Well, come help us improve all schools. I mean, I think if you look at the people involved in this movement, if you look at the parents and teachers and advocates here, overwhelmingly, these are people who not only want to improve choice schools, they want to improve all schools. You see, I mean, you think over the years, people like Dr. Howard Fuller, who played a significant role as a superintendent of this school system, who's worked diligently. I mean, that's a good example of someone who wants to improve all schools. I think if you look across the spectrum of people who are involved, the teachers and principals and others that are choice schools want to help not only their school, they want to improve other schools within MVPS, they want to improve other schools within the region. And I'd say join us in helping improve all schools and improve the choices that we provide for families across the state.
But how do you do that without siphoning resources away from the public?
Well, I think in the things we're looking at in this next budget, again, what we're looking to do is drive things off of performance. So we're going to do more to reward not only schools that achieve at high levels, but those that show positive signs of growth. At the same time, we're going to provide assistance to help turn around schools and school districts where there are failing schools. So we're going to put additional resources in for that. But again, you have to offer as wide a spectrum, I believe. We have to offer as wide a spectrum as possible. And so there's a way to do that that supplements and adds to, it doesn't take away from the focus and attention, not only in resources, but in attention we provide for other schools. But my bottom line in all this is it's performance. We want schools that perform. We're going to lift up and support those, whether they be in traditional public school settings, whether they be in charter school settings, whether they be in choice or virtual, or even in the homeschool environment. Every student, every family has a different way of succeeding. We want to provide them as many choices as possible.
Governor, what stronger measures of oversight or accountability would you be in favor of for some of the voucher schools? We know there's some great ones, but there's some ones that have not been doing well for a long, long time.
Yeah, part of the process why we incorporated in the school and school district accountability group that Dr. Evers and I put together, why we had members of the school choice and the private school community at the table with us, and we'd like to build off of that, is to not only take the report cards, which we apply to traditional public schools now, but to all schools. Any school that, any student, I should say, where there's public dollars involved, we'd like to have a way of assessing that. We're still working on a way that provides a reasonable parallel between different types of schools. But in the end, I think the most empowering thing to improve schools is if you give parents the knowledge of how schools are competitively, if parents really know not only choice versus public, but even within public schools, if we know realistically what schools are succeeding, what schools are failing, that's the best measure to improve all schools. I think it puts pressure on public schools to replicate success in great schools and to fix those that are failing, and I think the same thing will be true in the voucher movement. If we put more transparency as to where schools are at there, more parents will gravitate towards successful ones and move away from those that are failing.
So what percentage of the state might have vouchers under your budget plan?
I don't know that we've got a certain percentage. We're not looking at it solely by community. What we're really doing is trying to provide as many families as possible, knowing this isn't going to happen all at once, but as many families as possible, a viable alternative if they've got a failing school within their community. Knowing that in the years past there's been a lot of focus in Milwaukee, but there are other schools and other districts that have their challenges, and we want to provide an opportunity for families to have another choice in that situation.
Governor Walker, as you look at the press release that came out for this, the headline says something along the lines of Mayor Barrett and Governor Walker joined together on school choice. Not something we typically see, but is this a rare area of agreement between the two of you?
I think so. I think if you look, Dr. Thornton, you look at Common Council President Hines, you look at Chris Abley, myself, and others here, I think you even heard my comments there and here now with all of you, the focus isn't just on voucher schools. It's on all the different choices available to families here in the city of Milwaukee, how important that is. And I think that stresses what many of us who've been involved in this movement for some time have said. It isn't about replacing one type of school with another. It's about saying we ultimately want every student in this community and ultimately every student in the state to have access to great education. And the best way, or one of the best ways we can do that, is giving them as many good, positive choices as possible. I think that's something that transcends party lines. It transcends ideological beliefs. I think that's a commonly felt belief. And I think the representation you have here today of many different elected and appointed officials is a good sign of it.
Thank you. What are some of the other challenges you foresee becoming more of an issue in 2013 specifically with choice programs?
Well, I think again, it's not only providing more options, but it's per some of the questions that were asked before, is how do we make sure that in doing so, not only in choice schools, but in all schools, our focus is on not only providing that choice, but improving the types of choices so that if there's more transparency, if this is really about competition and improving things, the best way to be competitive is for parents to have access to what's really happening in each of the schools. And the more information they have, the more objective data they have about which schools are succeeding, which schools are not, the better off they're going to be about making good choices for their sons or daughters. And I think that's the key, is how do we now take the next step and say it's not just about choice, it's about trying to improve the types of choices that we provide for students and for families.
All right, thanks guys.